You are listening to the Beltway Wars Invitational Podcast, hosted by Adam Jackson and Patrick Wilton. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Week 8 recap special of the Beltway Wars Invitational Podcast. That's a lot of words, Adam. Good evening.
Good evening, good evening. I am wearing parts of my Halloween outfit. Don't ask me what it is. It is an amalgamation of many themes. So I went with my Alex Trebek wig with a Renaissance hat.
The truest version here of the Wizard of Sykesville, right here, right in your living rooms.
That is a throwback from like the first year we did this league. I think that was my first league name.
I think it probably was before that. I feel like that was like an AIM rename or something at one point, or an email. Adam still uses Hotmail, by the way. The only person on the face of the earth that still uses Hotmail.
I'm not going to stand for this Hotmail degrading.
Terrible take.
It's not terrible. It's awesome. It's great.
Anyway.
It's Outlook.
All right, well.
It's basically Outlook. Go.
Adam, the Ravens won this week.
Yay.
Lamar didn't play.
Yes, he didn't.
But Snoop Huntley, a guy with a smile like I've never seen. Have you seen that guy smile?
Odd question. Can't remember, but
probably not, because he hasn't won very many games with us, so we probably haven't seen him smile too much. But he has one of the craziest, biggest, whitest smiles I've ever seen in anyone in my life. But I'm happy that he was smiling. The Ravens got a victory here against the Chicago Bears. I know more than anybody that Caleb Williams struggled. I was watching that game intently for both Williams, his performance, to see if he could become the quarterback. Well, anyway, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Adam, but the Orioles. The Orioles have a new
We're
manager.
doing Orioles talk? This is a fantasy football podcast, Patrick.
My Chesapeake Bay Sox. Check this hat out. I just got this. Apparently, they released it and it sold out, and they now have them again. But how sick is that logo?
It's pretty good.
For the renamed from BWI Bay Sox, Chesapeake Bay Sox.
Well, now I got to find
the Orioles.
my other one. Let's see, this is like that. Oh, God. One moment.
Oh, you have the Norfolk. There's. Oh, no. Okay. That is. Wait, is that Delmarva?
Yeah.
No. That's Delmarva. Okay. Cool. I thought you were going to go get your seahorse Norfolk cat.
Yeah, I like the minor league hats. I think they're pretty cool.
I do too. Although the new Keys logo, well, we could make a whole podcast.
It'll be on the baseball talk. Will be on the Patreon.
Did you see the new Keys logo?
No, I did not.
Pull it up. Pull
up the Keys logo. Hold on, let me throw Frederick.
I'm curious what you think.
Keys logo.
Let me ask you this before. You know who the Frederick Keys are named after, like why we're called the Keys.
Yeah, Francis
right?
got a key. Oh yeah,
right.
Look at that. It's not bad.
Are you sharing the screen?
Yeah, I'm sharing. Yeah, it's like fireworks.
No, there's like four logos. There's like, but they're leaning heavily on like key, as in like what you shove into a doorknob.
Oh, this is like baseball that are like the bombs bursting in air.
No, that's not. Just look up Frederick Key's new logo.
New logo. This podcast is going to be 7 hours long.
I hate it. I mean, it's not terrible. It feels retro.
I don't even know what... Is it like on a baseball? I'm typing in Frederick Key's new logo. And it's like Frederick Keys and has like keys dangling off the S.
Well, that's one of them. Yeah, that's one of them. That's the primary logo. Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
No, the fireworks one was one of that's actually the old one.
I like that one. Well, it's not fireworks; it's the
Uh,
bombs bursting in air.
See, I think they could have just updated that old one. I think the font is a little dated. Like that could use a up. I'd like the new font. It's very Orioles, but I don't know about leaning into this whole like key motif.
This is Patrick Wilton with his designer take. But as
Anyway,
you were going to say,
yeah,
we're going
Craig
to talk.
Albernaz.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, you were moving on to football. That was my lead into my lead in.
All
No,
right.
Craig Albernaz. We have a new
Yeah,
manager.
we
You of
do.
all people, you were the first person of I think the people we know to jump on like I guess not. It wasn't a bandwagon at the time. You piloted the bandwagon for firing Brandon Hyde, and bringing in somebody new. Well,
Yeah.
here's your somebody new, Adam. What do you think?
I mean, all I've heard is good things. He was under the tutelage of, I think, oh God, I forget what his name is. I'm so
Yeah,
in
Stephen
football.
Vogt.
Stephen Vogt there in
Vogt.
Cleveland was a catcher, which is always a good decision when you're going to pick a coach. Catcher is kind of the commander of the field, defensive replacements, stuff like that. He's also had some pitching coach, like some stuff going on with him, which is
Bullpen
always a
coach,
good
yeah.
thing. He was like the bullpen manager for a good bullpen. So well-rounded, young. I like that a lot. Hopefully, comes up with an upbeat message and can really get Adley, Gunner, Westberg, all those guys back on track. We're hoping for that because we need it. And then hopefully the pitching stays healthy, which is always the conversation of each and every year for the Orioles. It seems like.
Did you see the video circulating of him giving a little bullpen lesson?
No, and we're not pulling it up.
Okay. No, we don't have to. But here's the thing: thick Boston accent, like really thick Boston accent, which is a lot of people are commenting like, "Oh, that's gonna be interesting." Hearing that, talking about Red Sox games and the as much intensity as we can have in the AL East. He's an interesting guy to have. So
Yeah.
looking forward to it. Season will be here before we know it. All right, football.
Football.
Football. Um, Week 8, we now have what? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have 6 more weeks of the regular season.
We
So
do.
we're getting down to it. Won't be long before we start having some playoff picture preview shows. But in the meantime, wanted to start these shows a little bit differently moving forward. Wanted to just kind of touch on a couple things. The waiver wire pickups, the key pickups over in the last week of waivers, and then just kind of set the stage, especially as we get toward the playoffs, with a standings update. So, looking back to last week for the waiver wire, I dominated it. I think I just wanted to talk about myself because it's the first good thing that's happened to my team in a long time was adding Oronde Gadsden and starting him for $7. Granted, nobody else bid on him, but hey, it was a $7 ad for me. The sadness of picking up Keon Coleman like a week or two after I dropped him and paying $8 for him. But getting Kyle Monangai for a whopping $6 with 4
bids.
total bids,
Yeah.
pretty good
I
there.
bet on him.
Adam, you were one of them. I think
I
Brian
was
in
5.
there. Oh, okay, come on. You can't. You
I
gotta
know.
always bump it up a number. Come on.
I know.
Anyway, but you did pick up. You dropped us the Seahawks defense on bye and picked up the Falcons. How'd that work out for you?
That did not work out for me at all.
That's great. And
They scored
Brian,
1 point. Because I was told by somebody in this call that the Falcons defense is really underrated, is really good, number 1 against the pass, and they give up, it's like a 30 bomb. Yeah.
I did. Was that a lot of throwing in that game? Oh yeah, Waddle had a nice game. I don't know how much of it was like H&N on the
And Tua,
ground.
for some reason, did not turn the ball over. We'll get into it.
Okay, all right. Well, Brian also picked up Kate Otten for $1. It was a tight end friendly week. We'll talk about that here as we go through the show as well. But Adam, could you recap where we are right now in our standings?
I can, Nate. Let me turn my camera back on. 1 moment. Okay, so standings time. Sarah first place at 6-2 and leading in points. Dominant position. You know, to have the best score and leading in points. So Pasadena Pulverizers in first place. Berlin Banshees gets knocked off the top. 6-2 as well. In second place, the Timonium Neon Tubes. Kind of surprising. In third place at 5-3. The Reisterstown Rockets at 5-3 as well. Curtis Bay Chum Buckets at 5-3 in fifth place. Columbia Clown College is in sixth place. I'm pretty sure they lost this week. They are struggle bussing right now. The Union Bridge Badgers, even though with their loss, still in seventh place, holding on to that last playoff spot. Owings Mills Ozempic at 3-5. In eighth place, Westminster Wrecking Crew. In ninth place at 3-5, Pratt Street Po' Boys. You're a team, 3-5. 10th place, Penn Prairie Wolves, 2-6 now in 11th. And the Finksburg Kings getting their second win of the season, but still in the basement.
Well, if it feels like we've been talking about my team toward the end of these podcasts, it's because I have the fewest points for and the fewest points against. So I am doing well in two different areas. Well in one area and struggle bus in the other. But anyway, really, really cool to see Sarah move up into that top spot. She has an 8-point points lead over Dustin with matching 6-2 records.
Damn, I just realized Jake has almost 1,100 points scored against him.
Really rough.
Yeah.
Almost 300 more than I do. Crazy. All right, well, let's get into the matchups here.
We're obviously just so you know, before I start talking about each team, it was requested by somebody in our group chat. I will be playing sound effects.
Oh, that's right.
I listen to the people, Patrick. The people.
Was it a request, or was it like a?
It was a demand, really.
Question, like what happened to the sound effects?
Well, he's getting sound effects today, buddy.
All right. Wow. Okay.
Right.
Well, good. Well, I don't know that they're playing, right? I won't.
No, I will try to give you a cue.
Okay.
But it will be during my portion. We should have done this in the pre-meeting. We're all out of whack. He talked about baseball for like 7 minutes. I'm all out of whack right now. I'm wearing a wig.
Owings Mills Ozempic is the first team we're going to be talking about. It's your matchup, Adam, here. You lost to the top scoring team, Alex. 160.52 compared to your team's 108.32. A massive blowout victory for Alex, getting the win to move to 3-5, sitting just outside of the last playoff spot. So a really critical win for Alex there to keep his team in the race here. Had a great day from Josh Allen, who's consistently putting up 20 to 30 points this season. Derrick Henry has a resurgence, going 21 for 71 and 2 touchdowns. DeAndre Swift getting a touchdown as well there for Chicago. Tucker Kraft, a huge day, 7 for 9, 2 touchdowns. And then, you're probably not going to talk about either one of these guys, Adam, but Cameron Dicker, 16 points. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 26 points against the New Orleans Saints.
Crazy.
Probably one of the better scoring defensive weeks of the season.
Yep.
And then on the bench, as good as Josh Allen was, Jordan Love was actually a little bit better for the Packers on Monday Night Football. He put up 28 points, 3 touchdowns, 360 yards. So a nice day for both quarterbacks for Alex. So, Adam, give us a guy you want to talk about here at the top. Who's your beast?
Well, first, because Alex scored the most amount of points, we're going to play a little sound effect for him. Still going? Okay, so that was the Kirby Victory Dance song. My beast for Alex is going to be Tyler Kraft. Did you watch this game at all? It was nuts what he was doing on the field. I mean, 9 receptions, 9 targets, 7 receptions, 143 yards, a season high for him. Also 2 touchdowns in this game, season high as well. Pittsburgh had no answer. I mean, Jordan Love was like falling backwards, throwing it up in the air, and Tucker Kraft was just high pointing the ball. Had kind of explosiveness that I didn't know he had. He was a pretty good target. I mean, he looked like Gronk out there, basically. Had no answer for him. He's my beast of the week, and he is now the number one tight end in fantasy football.
Yeah, was laying on his back after the play and leaped up with just pure muscle and like athletic ability. If you saw him do that after getting tackled, pretty impressive. And the number one tight end now. His 29-point performance launched him into the number one spot at tight end. We've had a few different guys there this season. In fact, I think it may have been him after the first week or two, starting. Yeah, he had 21 in week 2. So kind of coming on here lately as the Packers begin to maybe figure out a little bit more of who their offense is. And it definitely seems to include a lot of Tucker Kraft.
Yeah.
All right, who struggled this week for Alex?
That'd be Mbuka. Just kind of a weird game script game. Even Baker Mayfield did not have a good game in this one. We'll get to him in a little bit. But 9 targets, 3 receptions, 35. His third lowest of the year. But, you're thinking that he's the number one option in that offense with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin being out. You're expecting him to have more efficiency there. But Baker did play bad in this one. They didn't need him at all because New Orleans pulled Spencer Rattler and then went to their rookie, so they had the game in the bag. But just a disappointing performance for him. Still wide receiver number 6, though, and he is my bust for week 8.
Yeah, 3 for 9, not very efficient day out of Mbuka. He is still getting the targets, so and 12 targets I think was it this week.
Yeah,
I think is what I saw.
No, 9 targets.
No, sorry, 9, but 12 last week. So the targets are there. He was very close. I think he had an almost touchdown. Just had a tough catch in the end zone, but that's what you're relying on him to make. He's been making them for the first part of the season. 3 straight weeks under 10 fantasy points for Mbuka. So he goes on bye in week 9 and then has a string of tough defenses for the rest of the season. So that's going to be tough.
Yeah, you wonder if he hit the rookie wall or not. His team's starting to figure him out.
Mm-hmm. I think so. All right, well, let's talk running backs here. DeAndre Swift has suddenly become the most consistent option for the Bears offense. Derrick Henry, his value may be returning as the Ravens get healthier. And then Alex's third back, the only other back on his team, is Zach Charbonnet, who averages a significant 12 carries per game. So from 0 to 10, Adam, how confident are you that these guys at running back will be able to carry Alex's team moving forward?
It's kind of interesting. Alex kind of has a team that's kind of built kind of like my team a little bit. It's very running back heavy, and then you have the wide receivers that you're hoping to pop off. Terry McLaurin is really the kind of the biggest question here. Is he be able to come that top 15 wide receiver that he does have the ability to be? But I mean, Derrick Henry looked much better. He's going to be much better with Lamar back there as well. They finally got him really involved in the game, feeding them. Keaton Mitchell did have some good runs. I don't know if he's going to take away any of the carries, but 21 carries, you'd love to see that. And Swift as well, quietly having a very good season. Now running back number 11. The Bears offense is kind of hit or miss, but he seems to be pretty consistent. Only 2 games this year under 10 points. So, I mean, as long as Swift and Henry keep going and he gets, Mbuka and Terry McLaurin, team looks pretty good so far. Even at 3 and 5.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. All right, let's move over and talk about your team, Adam. Here, your Union Bridge Badgers take the loss, drop to 4-4, and the last team in currently with the playoff picture, scoring 108.32 points, pretty close to your projection at the beginning of the week of 103. Really got a disappointing performance out of Dak Prescott here. Just a very inefficient day with interceptions and no touchdowns. Got some sneaky production at the wide receiver position. None of them. I mean, Pittman was great. The other two, Malik Washington and DJ Moore, were both pretty good. Pittman got a touchdown, as did Washington. So nice to get production there. Nice to get production out of George Kittle, returning in his second game back from injury. Gets certainly more involved than he did last week, which was nothing. 12 fantasy points is a nice score. And then sing the praises of Chris Scott Boswell. I feel like we've talked about him specifically several times in the past. I've got him in another league, 22 points. He actually helped me win a very close, very high scoring game in another league. So, Adam, like what went right here? Is there a beast that you want to talk about at the top?
Yeah, I think my beast has to be Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman, now wide receiver number 7 on the season. Very quietly having a very good season. He's the number 1 option there in Indianapolis, with Daniel Jones being able to fling the ball around very efficiently. Has had a touchdown in all but 2 weeks this season. 9 targets in this one, 8 receptions, 95 yards, his season high as well. 8 catches, also his season high. Very, good player. I feel like he's starting to actually become the player that people were kind of expecting for a couple years now, being that number 1 option. 19 points, wide receiver number 7. He is my beast for week 8.
Yeah, the key for him being those touchdowns. He has touchdowns in all but 2 games. In those 2 games against Denver and Arizona, he had just 6 points and 3 points. He's not ever getting 100 yards. 95 this week is his season high, but he does have those touchdowns. So it's been working for him.
It seems like when they get in the red zone, if Jonathan Taylor's not going to get it, they're looking for him.
It does seem that way. All right, give me your loser here. Who's your bust?
So the bust has to be Dak Prescott. Just a really disappointing game. I know it was against a tough defense on the road, but they were behind this one, and I feel like he should have got more opportunities. Obviously, don't like the turnovers. Did have his season high in rushing yards this week, which is kind of interesting to me. But just very inefficient, 19-31, 188, his lowest of the season, or tied for his lowest of the season. Am I concerned? I don't know. I don't really have another choice in terms of Dak, but I think he might be a little matchup dependent. If he has a good matchup, you're obviously playing him, but there might be some other players that you might want to put in that have more favorable matchups going forward. Still QB number 8, but he is my bust for week 8.
I should also say, for anyone wondering why your team struggled a little bit to overcome Alex this week, it was partly due to the fact that you have a couple key players out on bye. It was Ashton Genty, it was Travis Etienne, and Trey Tucker, all normal week starters for you. So was dealing with some bye week blues here in week number 8.
Mm-hmm.
But as unfortunate of a loss as this was for you, I think you can take some solace, number 1, in the fact that you did have some key players on bye, but also that you were beat handily. It might have been a little bit more painful to lose a close game than to lose
for sure
in a blowout. But there is some bright side for you, and that is Tyrone Tracy, your 7th round running back. You've held on to him despite getting usurped by Cam Skattebo. All of a sudden now with Skattebo's injury, season ender, Tyrone Tracy is back in the picture. So buy or sell, Adam. We talked about Ridley as the key player for your team. He has not turned out very, very well. He's been hurt. He's been not the best receiver on his team. But Tyrone Tracy, is he the new key player for your team moving forward?
I am going to sell that just because, who would you start him over in terms of if everyone's not on bye? We have Genty, who I'm going to start. Then you have Achane, who is definitely starting. And then you have Etienne. I know he's been down the last couple of weeks, but still has a stranglehold on that running attack. And this New York team, again, is not a very good offense. It definitely changes without Skattebo there. Now, I know there's a lot of questions about why did you hold on to him so long, because I saw how Cam Skattebo ran the ball. And I was like, it's a matter of time that he's going to get concussed or something like that. But, of course, it happens on a freak, pass across the middle where his ankle goes the wrong way. So, obviously, really disappointing for him. But held on to him just because of the injury concern. He's a good flex player, but I might even be looking to move him. If someone would like to give me a wide receiver for him, that would be great. I'm going to sell that.
Oh, my ears perked up for a second there until you told me you needed a receiver, and buddy, I can't help you at all.
Don't worry, I've been looking at the teams. Don't worry.
No, but seriously, Travis Etienne went into his week 8 bye struggling for
Yeah.
3 straight weeks after really starting the season pretty well. Some tough matchups, but in week 7 he had his season low 8 rushing attempts. So Bashal Toot, an exciting rookie behind him. You would never know if maybe Tyrone Tracy will be starting in a week or two
Yeah.
if ETN continues to
I
struggle.
mean, it's a good problem to have.
Yes, for sure.
And let me play my
Okay.
sound. Hold on. Let me play my sound for my loss. Defeated. All right, go ahead.
All right, so we can move on to the next matchup.
Yes, we can.
That's going to be Charlie versus Dustin. Charlie and the Reisterstown Rockets get the win here, 134-28 over Dustin's 124-18, so about a 10-point victory. Charlie advancing to 5-3 on the season. He got another great gritty veteran performance out of Joe Flacco. We're going to talk about that here a little bit more later. Gets the huge breakout day in this season for Breece Hall. He scores 31 fantasy points. This is a guy who a lot of people have talked about as a trade target. The Jets, if they're trying to get something back for their team that has just completely self-destructed, maybe he gets dealt somewhere. Got a big day out of Harold Fannin on National Tight End Day. 6 for 8, 62 yards, and a touchdown. That's really good production for him, considering Njoku is also there and a part of that offense. On the bench, CJ Stroud had a nice day here in a surprising win over the Niners. But Adam, is there anybody else? Who do you want to put the spotlight on as your beast this week?
First I want to give a spotlight to Charlie with a sound effect of what he did to Dustin this week.
Get shit on!
So, Charlie, his squad, who I want to put a spotlight on. Let's put a spotlight on Breece Hall. Really taking the reins in this offense, with Braylon Allen being out. Isaiah Davis also had a kind of a nice couple runs in this one as well. A very high-scoring game against a very bad defense, so you kind of have to temper your expectations. But 18 carries, 133 yards, his second best yards per carry of the season, and also scores his first 2 touchdowns of the season as well. So you really like to see that. 56% snap count. I don't know if that's just pass heavy because they had to catch up, but now running back number 12, you love to see that, especially with all the questions about him in the offseason about what type of player he's going to be. Breece Hall, my beast for week 8.
All right, Adam, I have a feeling you are going to want to mention Deebo Samuel potentially as your bust.
Yeah, Deebo, I mean, and now Terry McLaurin's back, and it's like, what's his role? It's kind of like he's like going back to his role of, what he was in San Francisco. It's like this like gadget player that they kind of use like across the middle and stuff like that, and it's now he has more production now from Terry McLaurin, and backup quarterback, so you have to temper your expectations as well. But 2 straight games of under 4 points. Don't like to see it. Still wide receiver number 24, but he has Seattle, Detroit, Miami. Seattle's a good defense. Detroit has a somewhat good defense. So I would say as long as Jalen Daniels is out, I would be hesitant to start him. He is my bust for week 8.
Yeah, interesting to note that even though the struggles were there, the time on the field, he was better than any other wide receiver, 74% of snaps. The next highest was Luke McCaffrey at 51%. McLaurin was 47%. So definitely out there, which is good, but yeah, really just inefficient with the backup Mariota there for this team. All right, well, I do want to give some credit to Charlie for making a very unusual move. He rostered a 4th quarterback. He added Joe Flacco on Sunday morning.
Wait. You weren't gonna? Are you gonna give your praises to one of these quarterbacks that you kind of badmouthed last week?
No, I'm not ready, and he doesn't get his flowers yet. CJ Stroud, look, I really think that was a fluke. You're not going to get another game.
Okay.
Nobody expected any of that, and I think that's, I don't know. The Niners were off. Let's just say the Niners were off. I don't care how good of a defense Houston has. Maybe their defense is certainly better than their offense. That is for sure. But McCaffrey couldn't do anything. They just weird game.
Yeah.
Just weird game. They were favored to win that game, by the way. Somehow I checked afterwards. I'm like, sure enough, the
Mac
Texans were
Jones still
favored.
there. Injuries on the defense as well for San Francisco.
I guess. But anyway.
Four
But yeah,
quarterbacks.
no. So he didn't start C.J. Stroud. He did start Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Both of them performed well, and Flacco did outscore Stroud. So rostering 4 quarterbacks at once, you have to think, though, that at least one of these 4 is going to get dropped fairly quickly, if not 2, and it's not going to be Lamar Jackson. So of the 3 that remain, Flacco, Stroud, and Matthew Stafford, who gets cut and why?
Okay, so I think it's down to 2, and this might surprise you. You can't drop Joe Flacco right now. You can't. The way that roster is constructed in terms of the Bengals, with all that talent at the skill positions that they do have, and their defense just being absolute dog water as well, you got to keep him. You got to keep him as the backup. Now, I think it goes down to Stafford versus Stroud. I think that you would say you would drop Stroud. I think that if you did drop Stroud, that he'd be picked up pretty quickly by some quarterback-needy teams. So I think that is the answer. You're going to go with Stroud. Stafford and Stroud kind of have the same kind of team build where it's a good defense, and then they have Nico versus Puka. They have that that number 1 wide receiver. You're probably going to be a little more safer with Stafford, so I would say that the answer to that would be to drop Stroud if you were to drop any of them. But if I was Charlie, I'm making calls. I'm making calls before I drop anybody because they're all starting quality fantasy quarterbacks.
Yeah, I seriously considered picking Flacco up before Charlie did and decided against it, but maybe regretting my decision after Caleb Williams' performance. All right, moving on to the losing side, it's Dustin getting a second loss on the year, losing by 10 points, and now number 2 in the standings. It wasn't because of his wide receivers. He got incredible production out of Rashee Rice, Jalen Waddle, Khalil Shakir, believe it or not, up there in a big Buffalo victory over the Panthers. All 3 of these guys scored 17 or more fantasy points this week, so they weren't the problem. The Bills were also not the problem. They scored 19 in that same game. Drake May wasn't the problem. He threw 3 touchdowns and scored 26 fantasy points. It was Bijan Robinson with 4 points. It was Drake London missing this game with an injury. It was Devontae Adams and Kyron Williams on bye. And it was just general struggles across the rest of the starting lineup. So, Adam, who do you want to I'm guessing you might want to talk about one of these receivers. Do you have one in mind?
Yeah, I think the guy I kind of want to talk about is Jalen Waddle. Now the number 1 option with Tyreek being out. Tua playing a lot better, at least in this one against a tough defense. Now has us on Thursday night. Kind of concerned about that. Very talented player. Now wide receiver number 13. 6 catches, 99 yards. His second best performance of the season. Also catches a touchdown as well. So really kind of like where he's at. If Tua can figure it out and get his playmakers the ball, and he threw 4 touchdowns in this one. Top 10 could be for Jalen Waddle at the end of the season. He is my beast for this week. Again, like I said, wide receiver number 13.
Agree, totally. I'm glad you picked him. And he does have a pretty good schedule when it comes to just matchups and ability to score on teams coming down the stretch. Cincinnati in Week 16 in the playoffs. The Steelers who have been vulnerable. The Jets in there. Washington and Baltimore left. Yeah, so quite a bit there. All right. Wait, that was your beast, so give me your bust this week.
It's kind of hard to choose. I'm going to go with Kenneth Gainwell. Now 3 straight weeks under 7 points, 38% snap count, 30% snap count in the last 3 weeks after his huge week 4, debut, if you will. But only 5 carries in this one, 31 yards, 2 catches. It's just kind of weird. And are they going to somebody else? Jalen Warren had a lot more carries. So how useful is he going to be outside of an injury? I don't know. Of course, he started him because Kyron Williams was on bye, so you're not really going to have to worry about it. But now I'm worried about even his flex value that he might have with the bye weeks coming forward. Kenneth Gainwell, now running back number 36, he is my bust for week 8.
All right, giving the people what they want, a bonus bust, Adam, because we can't move on until we talk about Bijan Robinson. That isn't Brian Robinson. I know you might have scanned the lineup looking for a bust and thought, oh, that's Brian Robinson. No, that's Bijan Robinson with 4.3 fantasy points this week. What the hell happened?
I'm not worried. Kirk Cousins was starting. Drake London was out. I think they just made a real effort just to not make sure that he doesn't beat them. All the other weapons were hurt. Kirk Cousins looks god-awful. God-awful. So I think it's just I don't really think there's much to talk about. It's just one of those games. This is probably going to be his worst game of the season. You're starting him regardless, so I'm not concerned at all.
Okay, well, let's keep going here. Similar to your team, Adam, Dustin's Banshees lost this week due to facing a Week 8 buzzsaw and missing several of his key players on bye or missing due to injury. This loss is only the second one for Dustin this season, but it did stop his winning streak at 4 games. Do you have any cause for concern here, or is this just a blip on the radar?
Just a blip. I mean, he even gets something out of Troy Franklin, who looked really good in this one as well. Now he has Devontae Adams on bye. Drake London was hurt in this one. Kyron Williams on the bench. Oh, and by the way, Rashid Rice scores another touchdown as well. Shakir as well also had his best game of the season. Nothing really to worry about, just a blip on the radar. Bijan's not going to be scoring that low, and probably one of the best suited teams to really make a run.
I would certainly agree.
But let me give him a sound. Okay.
All right, so because I can't hear what the sound effects are, I almost want to do. I don't want to do it, but my mind went to the what is it called? Ryan Stiles, Colin Mockery.
Whose Line?
Whose Line? Where they have to make up a sound effect to match a scene. I feel like I should have to guess what the sound effect.
I feel like you just make up a sound effect.
Well, that would save you some work, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
All right, moving on to the next matchup here. It is the Finksburg Kinks, Tom's team, getting the win, the much-needed win to move to 2-6. 124 over the 112 for Scott's Westminster Wrecking Crew, who lose this one and drop to 3-5. Tom is still number 12 in the standings, but nice to get a victory here with a pretty solid point total given the week that we had. He got huge production. This is the week where his couple of his top draft picks just say, everybody get on my back. We are carrying this team. Saquon Barkley busted out for 150 yards and a touchdown. He caught another touchdown through the air on 4 of 5 in the receiving game. So 31.4 fantasy points. Definitely much needed for Tom. This is what he's been waiting for out of Barkley. And does it in a week where you get 24 points out of the other running back, Chase Brown, for the Bengals. Another highly drafted guy who has been significantly underperforming. 12 carries, 73 yards, and a touchdown. Also won in the passing game. So really just dominated by 2 guys. Some of the younger guys still struggling here. McMillan had his best week of the season with 10 targets for 99 yards. But kind of a mixed bag, because for every McMillan, you've got a Krosky Merritt who scored 2.5. So still that kind of young guy, you get a little bit of a kind of an up week, but a few more than a few down weeks in between. So, Adam, who do you want to focus on here from this starting lineup that kind of impressed you this week?
Well, first, let's just give a round of applause for Tom, as his team finally came together and got his second win of the season. So give him with clapping hands.
I think I can guess that one.
Okay,
All right.
there you go. But my beast for this week, just because it's funny, Saquon here has his best game of the season, 31 points. Even gets injured in this one, but not a serious injury. They're on bye next week. He should be back in week 10. But 14 carries, 150 yards is season high. Also scores a touchdown, catches the ball for a little bit, also scores a receiving touchdown, his second of the season. Now, running back number 9. This is exactly what you were expecting. When you drafted Saquon Barkley, it seems like he would have gotten 20 carries if he didn't get hurt in this one. So you love to see that. Nothing really much else to add. He should be the focal point of that offense, and he was in this one. He is my beast for week 8.
Okay, how about a bust?
So the bust, I'm going to go with TJ Hawkinson. This was such a weird game. Like Carson Wentz went out before the game started. He was hurt, and they just left him out there to get blown up by the Chargers defense. Only 3 targets in this one. His season low, 2 receptions. His second low is 26 yards. Just not what you're really expecting for a tight end of this caliber. Now tight end number 22. Looking at his roster, doesn't have another tight end on the roster. So you're riding with him, but it doesn't look good. You're hoping that there's a quarterback change. You're hoping J.J. McCarthy can come back, because right now with Carson Wentz, it's not good. And he is my bust for week 8.
Hey, Hawkinson had a really nice streak of games in the middle part of the 2023 season. He missed the first part of 2024 with an injury, but when he returned, he was very much like he has been this year, which is, between 4 and 8 or 9 targets, never really hitting the double digits in targets, and kind of averaging 7 fantasy points or so, with very few double-digit weeks. So just now we've seen it for the second part of last year and the first part of this year, that Hawkinson is just not a reliable option right now.
Correct.
All right. Well, over the last few weeks, sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. Tom's team, finally, Tom gets his second win. He dropped 6 straight before this, and finally, you had Saquon Barkley as a top 5 play at that position. Finally, Chase Brown was able to score his second and third touchdowns of the year, doubling his season high in fantasy points. Finally, rookie Tedero McMillan got something going with his quarterback, who was Andy Dalton this week. And finally, this team is showing a little bit of life. Now, there was nobody on bye for Tom this week, so that certainly helped. But can any of this be sustainable?
McMillan, I think so. But Crossy Matter kind of concerns me a little bit. Now 3 straight games under 6 points. Only 9 carries in this one, going down from 17-13 to 9 in this one. Now, this is probably a little game script, but, look at his next 3 matchups, really. Seattle, Detroit, and Miami, all teams that can score. So, how much positive game script are they going to have? I'm not sure. Did have his second highest snap percentage this week, but can it be sustained? You're going to need weeks from Saquon Barkley and Chase Brown. These are the 2 of the top draft picks for Tom. He got it this week. I don't know if he's going to get it each and every week.
Yep. Okay. Agreed on that. Moving on to the losing side here, it is Scott and the Westminster Wrecking Crew, dropping this one to move to 3 and 5. He does get the start. Tyler Huntley at quarterback, who put up 16 fantasy points. Adam, we talked about this last week. Who was Scott going to start with McCarthy and with Kyler injured, and his other quarterback was going into a bye. So we knew he had to pick somebody up. He doesn't pick up Joe Flacco, who to us was the obvious choice. He picks up Tyler Huntley. It's interesting. Flacco may have brought it a little bit closer here. He loses by 12 points. I don't know if Flacco would have gotten all the way there, but he does go with Huntley, who had a nice game, and it's cool that he got the start for the Ravens and got the start for Scott. He did dodge an injury potential to Quinshon Judkins, his incredible rookie running back who's been so good against some really tough defenses over the last 4 to 5 weeks. They are on bye in week 9, so his day-to-day injury should mean that he's probably, hopefully, going to come back for Scott in a couple of weeks. The wide receiver production that we've talked about, Jamar Chase, Ladd McConkey, DK Metcalf, all of these guys continue to dominate 14 or more fantasy points for all three of those options. We mentioned the quarterbacks, the spot start for Snoop. Brian Thomas was on bye this week, so after he had a really nice week, was it last week or the week before? He had 10 and 19 in week 5 and week 6. So week 8, he has had a bye. He's coming back in week 9 against the Raiders. So Adam, a couple options at wide receiver here, but who do you want to talk about as the beast?
So I kind of want to talk about Jamar Chase just because it's funny. You know, what a change in quarterback can do, because last 2 weeks, 23 targets, and you're like, okay, that's, they're behind, whatever. No, just 19 targets this week too. So Joe Flacco peppering him the ball. I think T. Higgins had like 3 targets in this one, so Jamar Chase, he is looking for him early, often, no matter if he's covered, not, whatever. 19 targets in this one. You have to wonder about the teams. You see all these things in other leagues about people trading Jamar Chase for, Quentin Johnson. You better be happy that you held on to Jamar Chase, because this is kind of his floor. I would say is around 15 points. If he's going to get 19 targets, this is his floor. He's my beast for this week, even though it was kind of a down week and then a loss. But you just really, really like to see this. You thought maybe week 7 was just kind of a weird week. No, it is not. Week 8 was the same kind of thing, and it's going to be the same thing going forward.
Is this the 3rd week for Flacco? This was the 3rd week, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So in the 5 weeks to start the year, Jamar Chase had 4 red zone targets. He now, in the 3 weeks with Flacco, already has 8.
Yeah.
So he's got 4 more red zone targets in 2 fewer games with Flacco than with Browning. So that makes all the difference in the world. The targets are there, the red zone work is there. So very impressive.
You almost want to shake Jake Browning and say, you have Jamar Chase on your team, just throwing the ball. Just throwing the ball.
Agreed there. All right, who left a little bit to be desired in week 8?
Now, his score doesn't really show it, but I kind of want to talk about it because we talked about it a little last week. Chua Hubbard.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We're starting to get a little more clarity about this backfield. And if you look at his note, holy crap, I don't think I've ever seen a note written so much about a player. So that just shows you the muddying of the waters here. Now, he didn't have more carries in this one. But again, Rico Dowdle was the better running back in this one. Chua Hubbard does score the touchdown. But going forward, you would have to believe that it's going to be a Dowdle 60%, Chua Hubbard 40% split. I don't know if he's very viable at that mark for Scott. So he may be looking for another running back, especially if Junkins is out for a period of time. He is on bye this week. They consider him day-to-day. But Chua Hubbard, my bust this week. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Yeah, very weird. Like his snaps percentage compared to Rico Dowdle is kind of back to where it was in like week 3 and week 4. Before Hubbard left with an injury that opened created the opening for Rico Dowdle to literally bust through like the collision.
Not to interrupt you, but also think about the score in this one. It's like, yeah, Chua Hubbard did get more carries, but was it like the backup time, and that's why he got so many carries? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if they're more competitive. I could see Rico Dowdle getting way more carries than Chua Hubbard.
That could certainly be a possibility. Yep, I think that's a good call. All right, well, over the last few weeks, we've seen the narrative for Scott's team shift wildly. The wide receivers have definitely become the strength that they were drafted to be. At the same time, some of the other guys on this team feel like they're maybe holding this team back. That dynamic is hurting this Wrecking Crew team to the tune of 3 straight losses. Is Scott going to be able to stop the bleeding next week versus the Chum Buckets, who are going to be without Jalen Hurts?
Well, Scott's going to be without Junkins. And True Hubbard, we just talked about him. Now, Kareem Hunt did have a nice day, and then you have David Montgomery there as well. So they're going to be playing, I'm pretty sure. You don't really feel great about Tyler Gio being in that flex spot just because of the amount of work that he does get. Scott's one of those teams where it's just like bubble. That's what I think is just bubble.
Total bubble.
And what's the quarterback situation? I mean, can Kyler really get it together? I'm not sure. You obviously can drop Huntley because Lamar's coming back. J.J. McCarthy, he hasn't been really impressive. He had one really good game and one really bad game. So what's he going to look like when he comes back? I do not know. Strictly on the bubble. He is a March Madness bubble team. And with that, let me play a sound effect for Scott's week. You'll never guess that one. It's fine.
Okay.
You had to listen.
Do I really have to?
No.
Okay. Next matchup, the closest matchup of the week, might be the closest matchup of the year.
Yeah.
A difference of less than 0.3 points.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Sarah squeaks this one out on Monday Night Football, 115-66 to 115-38. Pulverizing the Clown. Well, not really pulverizing. Eking out a victory here over the Clown College. Sarah's team moves to 6-2. Mike's team drops another one to be down to 4-4 here. Sarah did it with a big Monday night performance here from Patrick Mahomes. We've gotten used to it. It was a low-scoring game for a while, but Mahomes took over in the second half of this game. Jonathan Taylor took over everything for the Colts again.
It's unbelievable.
It's ridiculous. I mean, at this point,
he's so good.
It's beyond like McCaffrey good. It's Jonathan Taylor in a category of his own right now.
It's him and Bijan. Sure. I think.
Oh, he's Bijan and McCaffrey are kind of more similar to me, but just incredible. 3 touchdowns again here in this one, and then the receivers
carries 12.
Yeah, it was his fewest carries of the season by far.
It's crazy.
I mean, it is Tennessee defense. Look, his calendar gets tough. He's matchup proof for sure, obviously, but it's not to say that, some of those 28, 30, 32-point games might be a little bit more tempered down against some of these better defenses. But hey, he's playing for an incredible team. The Colts look very good as a team, so that always will help the running back. The wide receivers here, Pickens, Lamb, Olave, all between 10 and 11.5 points. So nothing to write home about, but if all 3 of those guys are going to be around 10, double digits, that's what you're hoping for week in and week out. So, Adam, who do you want to highlight here as the beast?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, Jonathan Taylor is just a freak of nature. Has not had a single-digit game this year. I think he leads the NFL in touchdowns. He's the number 1 overall player. He's the number 1 overall running back. He does it on the ground. He does it on the air. 153 yards his most of the season. Also his best game of the season. So obviously, what a steal for her in the second round, being the number 1 overall fantasy option. The beast, and probably the beast for the rest of the year. I mean, his projections now, look how crazy his projections are. 20, 21, 20, 20. It's 20 points out of there. And, we always talk about like 100, 110 being there. That's like 25% of it right there. It's just from Jonathan Taylor. So he's my beast, and go on her for seeing the value.
All right, I'm going to attempt to be a mind reader here, and because I'm going to try, and even if I'm wrong, just go with it, because I want to talk about the guy that started in the flex spot here.
That's where I was going.
That is, all right, perfect. Jordan Mason, who the Vikings were running back. Adam, I'll set the stage for you.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones returned this week. I don't know if Sarah maybe didn't get the memo. Last week in the show, we talked about, of all of her kind of flex-worthy guys, who was the guy you were sitting? It was kind of between Mason and Rashad White. So with that in mind, what do you think about that decision and how it turned out?
Well, I mean, she didn't start either of them, but Mace. I mean, I can kind of get the idea. Maybe they want to slow roll Aaron Jones back, and Jordan Mason at points in the season has looked like the better running back. But in this one, they get so far behind. Chargers have a sneaky good defense. Just nothing happening. 4 attempts, 3 rushes is crazy. Doesn't catch the ball at all. Again, Carson Wentz was pretty hurt in this one, so I don't put it on him. But, it has Detroit, Baltimore, Chicago, Green Bay. Are you feeling good about him at all in the flex spot going forward with Aaron Jones? I don't think so, especially with the options that you do have on the bench. Keenan Allen, even Rashad White if Bucky Irving is out. So he's my buzz for this week, and I think that he's unusable until he proves it again.
I agree. And the interesting thing there is, even in a blowout, even with it being the first game back for Aaron Jones, Jones had 53% of the snaps to Jordan Mason's 35%.
Yeah.
So first game back, we thought Mason was doing a pretty decent job, but unfortunately, his workload has just been cut back significantly.
And let's give her a sound effect.
You gotta give him that hawk too and spit on that thing. You get me?
Okay, I gave her the Hawk Tua noise because she Hawk Tua'd on Mike this week.
Okay, well, Sarah's pulverizers got a narrow victory this week, but it was a mediocre week 8 for just about everyone except for the aforementioned Mahomes and Taylor.
Yeah.
More need not be said there. But indulge me for just 1 minute in a discussion about team defense for a minute.
Oh, okay.
Sarah may be one of the few teams still starting the defense that she drafted. That would be the Minnesota Vikings. Sure, they're number 11 at the position, a back-end starter, you might think. But that's due in large part to an outlier 34-point performance against the Jake Browning-led Bengals in Week 3. They haven't reached 7 points in any other game. If you're Sarah, are you thinking about getting into the streaming business at this position?
I mean, yes, because look at the next 4. Detroit, Baltimore with Lamar, Chicago, which does have the ability to be a good offense, and Green Bay, who's a good offense.
Okay. Yikes.
So, yeah. Not much more to say on that. I think you got to stream, especially with the uncertainty at the quarterback. The offense isn't going to hold the ball as much as you probably like. The defense gets gassed. It's just not good. Not good for the Vikings. I think you have to stream.
I certainly agree there. Moving over to the losing side, the Columbia Clown College, Mike's team, another loss. 4 points from Baker Mayfield. To lose like this by such a small amount, to get a 4-point day from your quarterback, yet to get a 33-point day from James Cook. Any uncertainty of the kind of the streak of 2 games that he went without touchdowns, returns from the bye in Week 8 and scores 2 more to reassure any potential doubters. But struggled really through the other kind of key positions here. The wide receivers all scored less than 7 points. Tej Johnson, Darnell Mooney, a 1.5 point day, and
crazy.
He was the wide receiver 1 with Drake London on the shelf. All the fantasy analysts were hyping the hell out of him, and he has 4 targets and caught one ball all game. But this was also a tough loss, but it was with Jahmyr Gibbs on bye, Travis Hunter on bye, Jameson Williams, Brock Bowers still hurt, Chris Godwin out. So lots of guys here on the shelf for Mike. So Adam, we've talked about James Cook a lot, but he's kind of hard to ignore.
I'm going to go in a different direction because I want to talk about something.
Okay.
I'm going to go to Dallas Goedert here. Now tight end number 5. Has scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 touchdowns on the season, sneakily being tight end number 5. And I think it brings up an interesting question for Mike going forward. It's like, how do you sit him even though you have Brock Bowers? It's obviously an easy decision next week because he's on bye. But he is, once they get close, and it's not, when it's on the 4 or 5 yard line, not tush push territory, they're looking for him, and he's getting the ball and he's catching touchdowns. Somebody that was drafted in the 14th round to be the number 5 tight end is great return on investment. He is my beast for week 8.
Okay. It will be interesting to see, how long it takes Brock Bowers to get back up to speed. I think a lot of people are assuming he gets there, but at the end of the day, Adam, it's a new coach from last year. It's a new offensive scheme. It's a new quarterback. So I don't know, man.
Yeah.
We'll see how that works out. By the way, we didn't mention it. The long list of injured and bye week guys included Garrett Wilson and Ricky Pearsall as well. So quite a list of.
Was on bye anyway.
This might be. I don't know if I've ever seen a team that has 0 points on the bench for a week. There are 0 points here. There's nobody that played really at all. So. Anyway, okay. Well, give me a bust. I don't know. Do you want to talk about Mooney, or is there?
Yeah, I do.
I guess Mooney or Mayfield.
Let's talk about Let's talk about Mooney, just because. Baker, it was kind of like they were ahead. They didn't really need to throw. In this game, they were so far behind. They needed to throw, and he only gets 1 catch on the day. Again, Kirk Cousins is completely done. He's just done. He should retire after this game. He looked awful. You couldn't get the ball to any of the playmakers. 4 targets in this one, 1 catch, 11 yards. Especially being so far behind, you would think that he'd get a couple more looks. He did not. He is my bust, and luckily for Mike, he's not going to have to use him when Garrett Wilson and Ricky Pearsall come back. So don't have to worry about that. But again, just a very disappointing day for someone that had a very, very plus matchup.
Yeah, 90% of the snaps. That was just another one of these very weird games that just didn't go according to plan at all.
Yeah.
All right, well, just when we thought that Mike may finally be able to take this kind of long-awaited sigh of relief after losing 3 of the last 4, Monday night heroics from opponent quarterback Patrick Mahomes handed Mike yet another loss. But here's the silver lining, Adam. Jahmyr Gibbs is now past his bye week. Injured players like Pearsall, Garrett Wilson, Chris Godwin, and Brock Bowers are all 1 week closer to return. Some of these guys, I think, will be back next week. It feels like maybe after a struggle over the last 4 or 5 weeks for Mike that the storm clouds might be clearing.
Yeah.
You agree with me that Mike has as good a chance as anyone to go on a high-scoring sprint toward the fantasy playoffs?
Oh, 100%. And see, this is kind of an interesting thing about fantasy football and real football as well. It's like such a good team that might be a lower seed. And that's kind of scary that if you had to face him in the second round or the first round, even being a higher seed, because this is a very, very talented lineup. James Cook, Dobbins, Javonte Williams as well. Gibbs on bye. Very talented running back room. And then you have Pearsall, who looked good once he was healthy. He'll be better with Brock Purdy coming back. Garrett Wilson as well has that connection with Justin Fields. Justin Fields has a nice game in this one as well, so I think that's a positive for Garrett Wilson's value. I'm not really concerned at all. It really sucks to lose. It's heartbreaking, but Baker Mayfield's not going to have another 4-point game this season.
Okay, moving on.
Let me give a sound effect for Mike, because it was a very, very close loss. So he has some
emotional damage.
I'm done.
Okay. Very good. Well, let's move on. We'll be better at that. If we're going to do this the rest of the way, we're going to have to practice before next time to figure out when we're doing sound effects. Anyway, all right. Well, let's get into the losing side. The next matchup here. Yeah. It is the Curtis Bay Chum Buckets getting the victory over the Timonium Neon Tubes, 104-26 to 94-9-8, so a 10-point victory here for Josh to advance to 5-3 on the season. The Neon Tubes dropped to 5-3, but it was the Chum Buckets winning this one on the back of Jalen Hurts, who put up 25 fantasy points, 4 touchdown day. kind of an odd stat line, 15 for 20, 179 yards, but 4 touchdowns through the air. So a nice, efficient day for Jalen Hurts. Kind of a struggle across a lot of the running back and receiver
Yeah.
landscape this week. It was really actually the kicker and the defense. Chase McLaughlin and the Kansas City Chiefs defense, 12 points for the Chiefs, 18 points for McLaughlin. Those guys really kind of landed the plane this week for Josh's squad. Did have some players on bye. It was Puka Nacua, notably, and Jacoby Myers. Brock Purdy continues to miss games with injury, but you're not starting him over Jalen Hurts.
Might be starting him next week because he's on bye.
Okay, then hopefully Brock Purdy is healthy. But is he going to be? I don't
know. I can't see IR spots.
That is uncertain for week 9, so we'll see how that goes. All right. Well, Adam, pick. Like I said, it's kind of decimated across running back and wide receiver land. Is there somebody though that's not part of the big question that you want to talk about here?
I mean, I think I just want to talk about Jalen Hurts. It's very, like you said, it was a very interesting score line. Very efficient, 15 for 20, 179 yards, 4 touchdowns, no rushing touchdowns, and still able to score 25 points. You'd love to see that. Now quarterback number 3 on the season. Just looking after his bye, Green Bay, Detroit, and Dallas. You're starting him regardless in any of those games. But against Dallas, you're salivating at that matchup where he could have multiple rushing touchdowns. Should be a high-scoring game as well. But Jalen Hurts, very efficient day. Not a lot of yards, but 4 touchdowns. He is my beast for Week 8.
All right, well, it was again starting 2 Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers. And once again, neither of them were named Rashee Rice, just like last week. So I don't know. Is it one of these guys, Adam, that you want to talk about or somebody else?
No, I don't want to talk about any of them. I want to talk about Jalen Ferguson.
The goose egg, Jake Ferguson.
Jake Ferguson, whatever his name is. I can call him the wrong name because he had a goose egg. He wasn't hurt. 1 target. I mean, I guess it was Denver, taking him away, but whew, it's just, I mean, every single game except for week 1, he was in double-digit points, and now he has a big old goose egg, 59% snap count. I don't know if that had to do with them pulling the starters, which they did do in this one. Only 1 target. Better days ahead for sure, but, I'm starting to get a little bit weird about, matchups and, how much work he can get with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens as well being on the field. Still starting him because he's still tight end number 2, but he's my bust for Week 8.
Yeah, 59% of snaps is not noticeably low. It's a little bit lower, but not by much. It's probably close to his season average, maybe a tick light for Ferguson this week. All right, well, Woody Marks, Adam, a guy that we didn't talk about intentionally here because Woody Marks had a nice day. He had 11 carries for 62 yards. He was also 4 for 4 for 49 yards in the passing game. He had another good game this week and has made it 3 out of the last 4 weeks with both 10 or more carries and 4 or more targets, all while averaging about half of his team's snaps. More importantly, he helped his team get a victory on Sunday. With Alvin Kamara appearing to be cooked for this fantasy team, has Mark shown you enough to feel good about slotting him in behind Josh Jacobs as an RB2, or is the jury still out?
As an Alvin Kamara owner in another league, it's just... my theory about running backs is that you want the guy who's going to get the majority of the work, and it's kind of like there's no one else there with the Saints and now in Kamara, so you would hope that he gets most of the work, but he's done nothing with any of the work that he's gotten. So it's starting to become a question for sure. Now, you understand this with Ramondre Stevenson and Trey Hendrickson, or Trey, whatever his name. What's his name? Travion Henderson?
Henderson. Oh, yeah, I know it well. Yep.
It's kind of the same kind of deal where it's like there's Nick Chubb there, and Woody Marks appears to be the better running back in this offense, but they are just cool with him putting him on 3rd down and catching the football. So it's kind of annoying, but it's definitely like 45-55 in terms of like who I would start, even Kamara or Marks, but I'm still sticking with Kamara until Woody Marks gets more than 40% snap percentage in a game consistently.
Okay, let's move on to the losing
Let me
side.
give
It is the
let me give a sound effect. What sound effect am I gonna do? He won. Give me a moment.
Victory!
There you go. A nice and short victory. All right.
All right, the loser by 10 this week, the Timonium Neon Tubes, 94 points. As I said, dropped to 5-3. Still the number 3 team in the league. Still, a roster that I think we both really like. It wasn't so much the bye situation this week. McBride though was on bye. It was the injuries. It was Mike Evans and Bucky Irving, his two Buccaneers missing this game with injury. And it was a nice game from Bo Nix, similar to Josh's team with Hurts. Nix had a nice day, 23 fantasy points here. But whereas it was the kickers and defense getting the job done for Josh and being just enough, it was the wide receivers here that had a decent day for the losing side, Brian. Justin Jefferson, hey, 11 targets. I'm trying to
Yeah.
find a silver lining here. At least he's in double digits, as is Roma Dunze, 10 targets, 114 yards against the Ravens for 14.9. It's where it fell off is Quentin Johnston, Kate Otten not getting into the end zone and kind of taking advantage of that good situation. There's Isaiah Pacheco. This is like the 2025 Pacheco experience. This is like a very typical week this year,
And he's week to
unfortunately.
week now.
Right. So that's going to limit your options even further. So, Adam, lot of bye week and injury
Yeah.
situations going on here. Some okay production from a couple guys. Didn't even mention Kamani Vidal, but
Yeah.
maybe you want to talk about him.
I do, because, we might look back. We were kind of talking about, postseason awards, the after season awards, where we talk about the free agent pickup that really was the best free agent pickup of the season. He has two candidates. I mean, Rico Dowdle, I think, was picked up. Yes, he was. And Vidal also picked up and now has 23 carries, 117 yards, and a touchdown. He has a stranglehold on a good offense there in LA. Ran the ball well, touchdowns. He does everything. Catch the ball once. What else is there to say? You're starting him every single week until he proves otherwise, and he is my beast for week 8.
Okay, well, maybe the bust is probably pretty obvious here.
Yes, it
Those goose
is.
eggs are hard to get away from, and we've got one here for Brian's team, just like we had for Josh's team. So,
Yeah.
why is it Quentin Johnston?
I mean, the the beginning of the season was so good. It was like he finally's got it together. It's like they're looking for him. He's getting the targets, getting touchdowns. He kind of saves his day last week with a touchdown as well. But in this one, just 52% snap count. Now, it could have been game script, but no targets. Lam McConkey looks like, he's back to form. Keenan Allen also looks back to form. The tight end, Gadsden is, a guy that kind of broke out this week as well. So, you like the 4 weeks, but is he usable going forward? I'm not sure. You don't feel kind of great about that. Does Josh Downs kind of, emerge as that wide receiver 3 for Brian? I don't know, but Quentin Johnson 0, that is not good. And he is my bust for week 8.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's game script or the emergence of a Gadsden or both, but
And
interestingly,
McConkey, and Lam McConkey. I mean, he's back.
Yeah, and maybe that is what it is there's just evening these guys out. McConkey has been consistently 70 to 90%. He was at 58%. Quentin Johnston has been 80 to 90%. He was 52%. Keenan Allen had been 50 to 60%. He was 25%. It was Trey Harris getting 59% of the snaps, and it was Gadsden playing 77% of the time. So just kind of a more evenly distributed. You're not seeing all of these guys on the field all the time. You're just getting about halftime service here for McConkey, Johnston, and even less for Allen. He played just 18 snaps.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's reminiscent of Green Bay a couple years ago, where it's like Romeo Dobbs, Wicks, Christian Watson. It's like you don't know who it's gonna be. It could be any of those players each and every week.
I like how you said a couple years ago, but that's what we have right now.
That's true. I mean, that's a good point.
Currently, some things just never change. Well, it was a tough loss for the Neon Tubes this week, but I, Adam, for one, am not worried. A position that of this team that we've not really talked about a lot this year is quarterback.
Yeah.
Bo Nix and Daniel Jones just don't feel like very sexy names in the fantasy world. But after 8 weeks, Nix is QB5 and Daniel Jones is just one spot behind him at QB6. Due to bye weeks, Nix will definitely start in week 11 and Jones will definitely start in week 12. But in the meantime, who do you like in weeks 9 and 10 between these two quarterbacks, number 5 and 6 in the league? In week 9, Bo Nix will be at Houston.
Yeah.
And Daniel Jones will be at Pittsburgh.
I think I'm taking Jones in week 9, and then I think I'm taking Bo Nix in week 10 because he has Las Vegas, who we just saw they're completely awful, and Daniel Jones has your favorite defense of Atlanta in week 10. So I think you're okay with starting either of them, but I think that you would do Jones this week and then, or Jones whenever the next week is. Yeah, Pittsburgh, and then you would do Bo Nix against the Vegas Raiders.
I agree with that. I think Jones at Pittsburgh. I think that could be a close game.
I think it could be a shootout too.
I hope that game is in prime time. I would love to watch that game.
All right. Well, while you're looking that up, I'm gonna play a sound for Brian.
You failed!
No, it's we've got Cardinals and Cowboys on Monday night.
Great.
We've got Seahawks Commanders on Sunday night. So
flex it.
At least we have a interesting Thursday night game between two terrible teams. Anyway, okay. Let's talk about the next matchup.
Our last matchup.
The last matchup. And my matchup.
It's always you. You're always the last matchup.
I'm always the last matchup. And it's because I only scored 103.4 fantasy points, which is not good. But even worse is scoring 73.72 fantasy points. That is what Jake's Penn Prairie Wolves did in a loss to my Pratt Street Po' Boys in Week 8. My team advances to 3-5, the number 10 seed, and just behind me is 2-6. Jake's team, the number 11 seed. Low scoring affair. I'm used to these. I usually lose them. This time I come out on the winning side, and it was because I started two tight ends. I started Rondé Gadsden and Travis Kelce. They combined for close to 35 points on the day, so a nice tight end week celebration there. Jaime Fairbairn, the kicker, somebody who I know I think you like a little bit. He was
on my team.
4 for 4 on field goals, and perfect on his extra points as well for 15 in this game. I'm talking about the kicker for a while here, Adam, because there's not a whole lot of other positives that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
My running back situation continues to be probably the worst in the league, as does my wide receiver position, quite frankly. I'm doing pretty well elsewhere.
Yeah.
Kind of on the lower part of the lineup, but the top part is lacking substance, shall I say. But is there anyone that you want to talk about as my beast in Week 8?
Yeah, it's kind of a retro game for Travis Kelce in this one. His best game of the season, 8 targets, 6 catches, 90 yards, his season high. Also scores a touchdown in this game as well. He's a very interesting name. You know, this Chiefs offense is finally starting to come together with Rashid Rice coming back. Also Xavier Worthy back for a couple of weeks from injury. They can't run the ball, so they're going to throw it. And, you know, this is vintage Travis Kelce. Love to see it. Now tight end number 6. He is my beast for Week 8.
You know, it's interesting, Adam. I want to digress for a second, probably because I'm just thinking about this season for me, and I've had success in some other leagues, but on Monday Night Football last night with the Chiefs and the Commanders, I had 4 fantasy matchups that had guys involved. There was some Mahomes, there was some Kelsey, there was some Chiefs defense, Deebo Samuel, a bunch of different stuff in a bunch of different leagues. And you ever have that week where you just sort of thread the needle, that everything that does happen or
It
that
doesn't
needs to happen
happen.
for you or doesn't need to happen, it
Yeah.
just kind of converges into this, like, I won all my weeks. And I could have lost any of them, but I won them all, and everything just was perfect in the world. As long as I just don't remember that I beat up on a 73-point team this week.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my way of Travis Kelce. Thank you. Single-handedly winning me a couple different leagues
Yeah.
was a big thing. So anyway, Adam, you have more options to
Yes,
choose
I
from
do.
for a bust. So who's it going to be?
I'm kind of between two.
Take them
But
both.
I want to talk about Tony Pollard just because it's an interesting little note here. Available for trade. I think at this point you kind of want to trade it because Tajay Spears kind of emerged this week, having a really nice day, 15-point day, more efficient on the ground than Tony Pollard as well. Just it's just Tony Pollard now 3 straight weeks under 10 points, 11 rushes, 44 yards. That's like such a Tony Pollard line. You're hoping he scores a touchdown. Yeah, just bad. And I think now is finally the time that they're going to start going to Spears, as they're a horrible team. They want to see what they have in terms of the younger players. They're obviously thinking about moving Pollard, so they're not impressed with them now. Running back number 23, he is my bust for week 8.
You wonder if he burned his bridge in Dallas by talking about that game, that he wanted to prove to them that he was a good player despite letting him go. Because, frankly, Javonte Williams has been getting a ton of work. He just feels like, he at some point might break down as the season goes on. The rookie Jadon Blue fumbled this week, and he's been terrible in very limited time. I just wonder if reuniting with Dallas wouldn't be a good idea. Like I said, I think he might have burned his bridge, but I wouldn't want that to happen for Pollard, but I just wonder if that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, but who could he go to? I mean, Houston, maybe. I mean, that's one option there, but then it just turns into a huge, kind of cluster there. I don't really see a place where I'd feel really great about him going. Like, to be completely honest, Washington, perhaps, but they have like 17 running backs, so it's just kind of where he is in his career. Only a 6-year career so far, but he is 28, so.
Well, the team that we always talk about are the Chiefs, and now makes more sense than ever with the injury there.
That would be the best case scenario.
Probably so, yeah. An efficient offense. I would agree with that. All right, well, who else did you want to mention? The other name do we have to talk about? I mean, not that I want to talk about another.
Yeah, okay. Caleb Williams, because like I said, start your players when they go against the Ravens. It's just a horrible week. I mean, not very efficient. No touchdowns, and a really bad interception, actually. Didn't even run the ball for that much. It's just like, he's very hard to trust right now. Does have Cincinnati next week, so it's like, well, maybe give him another shot. But, it's just bad. When C.J. Stroud lights you up and Caleb Williams can't, it's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, Cincinnati next week, and then the Giants after that.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be hard for me to go find somebody else. I had a team with 3 quarterbacks. I am down to just one.
Yeah.
After 8 weeks, so we'll see how it goes.
All right, let me play your song.
All right, well, oh boy,
this.
Victory screech!
Oh, this is wrong. All right, go ahead. Give you a victory screech.
All right, I guess that was happy. Okay, I'll take a victory screech. It is a sad state of affairs, though, when reaching 100 points feels like such a huge victory. But that's how it is for me right now.
Yeah.
After 2 straight sub-90-point efforts. Many flex options missing across the league in Week 8 due to injuries and buys, we were primed to celebrate National Tight End Day. For my Po' Boys, it was a celebration indeed, with the law firm of Kelsey and Gadsden coming up big.
Yeah.
This team lacks a lot of talent right now, but Adam, would I be a fool not to start both of these guys in week 9?
Why do I feel like Gladstone is like Isaiah Likely last year? where he had that huge game. Mike spent like $70 on him, and then he just wasn't the same player. It's so many pieces on that offense that good on you for starting him. I mean, that was a good pull, but I'm a little bit concerned now. You do have Amon-Ra coming back. T. Higgins, you got to start him with Flacco. You need one of these other wide receivers to really step up here, and because I'm not even going to talk about your running backs, but you need one of these guys, either Slayton or Coleman, to really get it going here.
I think you think I should start Gadsden again because none of those guys are really doing anything. I think I have to.
Yeah,
I think the upside that he represents just isn't present right now with any of these other guys.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but that's just sad state of affairs.
Well, one last thing, Adam. I have now scooped up 2 of your bye week drops in Kaimi Fairbairn and the Seahawks defense. But in no way am I still bitter that you got something out of Calvin Ridley last year after I dropped him. That was due to poor performance. I take it you dropped Fairbairn and the Seahawks just because you didn't want to roster 2 at those positions to carry them through their byes.
Correct. And I had Boswell, so it's fine.
That's true. Boswell, the killer bee. All right, last team here. I don't know what we're at. We're probably at an hour 40 by this point, but we'll get to.
No, we're actually doing pretty good on time.
Oh wow, surprisingly. Okay, 73 points. That's pretty bad.
It's really bad. Not pretty bad. Really bad.
Continuing the theme with some of the other lower scoring teams that we've talked about here in the last couple of matchups. Jake had another nice quarterback performance, but the production was kind of weak across the board at other positions. Jackson Dart ends this game 14 for 24, but still gets the job done in the fantasy department with 19 points this week. Christian McCaffrey. We mentioned that Houston 49ers game as just being a weird one where Stroud was like great and Woody Marks broke out and the 49ers defense struggled. And McCaffrey, 8 fantasy points, and it was, he's lucky to get that. For most of the game, he was like 0.8 fantasy points, watching this one very closely. So I don't know if you're going to want to talk about him later on, but certainly a struggle. Aaron Jones, at least he got the work, but just 5 carries. He was on the field, but they got game scripted away from the run against the Chargers. And then some just kind of deep cuts here. Yeah. We got Chimere Dike for the Titans with 12. That's good. Sterling Shepard with the Bucks, 1 point. That's bad. Just nothing really going here for Jake. Got a -1 from the Niners defense. So had him limited options here again. But who do you want to talk about?
It has to be. How do you pronounce his last name? Chimere Dike?
Yes. Don't pronounce it like you said.
No, that's why I wanted to make sure.
DK.
Kind of came out of nowhere, and actually in week 7 had a nice game too. I didn't realize that. I don't watch a lot of Tennessee football with Calvin Ridley being out anyway. 2 straight games of over 10 points, 8 targets in this one, season high as well. 93 yards also season high. Someone has to catch the ball, in Tennessee, and it looks like it's going to be him. So, good pull for Jake, seeing that from last week, starting him this week. He might be a wide receiver 3 going forward as long as Calvin Ridley's out. Now, when he comes back, how does that change? But good on Jake. So, DK is my beast for week 8.
Thinking El Duque, that's the wrong sport.
Well, I'm in the baseball mindset.
There we go. My fault there. Okay, well, have your pick if you want to cover a couple of these guys.
So I'm going to start with Dalton Kincaid. Just kind of an odd game. 22% snaps. Now, I know that they're way far ahead. But it seems like that Buffalo offense doesn't have that consistent pass catcher, and Dalton Kincaid, he had a couple good weeks at the beginning of the season, but now 3 points. He missed in week 6, only 1 catch in this one. Kind of hard to trust at tight end 14. He is my bust for week 8.
All right, one other thing I wanted to mention with Jake's team here, since you said we're doing so good on time, we can linger here for a moment. We should mention that Jake has Trey Benson on IR. We're expecting Trey Benson to return to the Cardinals, I think around week 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
It's going to be a couple more weeks. But in the meantime, that Cardinals running back carousel has turned over once again. We're talking about like the 4th starting running back here who's going to get a shot. It's going to be Zonovan Knight, because the guy he split carries with this past week, Michael Carter, has been released by the Cardinals. So Zonovan Knight, interesting name here for Jake on the bench. He was on bye this week, but he's probably, he's really like the only healthy running back right now that the Cardinals have. So a lot of people speculating with Carter being dropped, was there going to be a signing? I haven't seen anything like that yet, Adam.
Tony Pollard.
Either a signing or a trade.
Tony
right.
Pollard. Yeah.
Look, if I could get a couple weeks before the return of Trey Benson out of Pollard, I will take that over what I'm getting right now in Tennessee. That is for damn sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just an interesting thing to note. Jake will be able to slide Knight into the lineup next week immediately.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I may have hyped Jake's Prairie Wolves up a little bit too much in the last week because his team certainly did seem to be jinxed. Jackson Dart may feel like his team is jinxed as well, having lost both Malik Neighbors and now Cam Scatteraboo for the season.
Yeah.
Dart had another inefficient day passing, but saved the day with his work on the ground, as we've talked about. He's now the only quarterback on the roster for the Prairie Wolves. So my question is, will the loss of Dart's friend and teammate Cam Scatteraboo have an impact, either positive or negative, for Dart's upside?
Well, it has to be negative, right? Cam Scatteraboo was a good player, and defenses had to plan around him. Now it's just one less piece that the Giants have to play behind. I don't think anyone's really scared of Tyron Tracy, even though he did have a somewhat good season last year. Again, the pass catchers are a problem too for Jackson Dart. Wan'Dale Robinson is the number 1 wide receiver for the Giants. It's just a bad offense, but this is also the thing. It's like, I feel like he's going to run the ball more, and that's just gravy on top of his passing stats as well. And they're going to be behind. He's going to have a lot of opportunities, and I feel like he's going to take off of the ball a lot more than we even saw in the last 2 weeks of only 17 yards and 11 yards with Cam Scatteraboo being out. Maybe even some rushing touchdowns when they get close. So I'm not that much down on Jackson Dart, just because I feel like he's the best player on the field for the Giants offense.
All right, Adam. Well, we've made it through the
let me play a sound for Jake. Lowest score of the week. I'm sorry, Jake.
I pooped my pants.
He did poop his pants this week. I'm done.
All right. Well, while you pull up the matchups for week number 9,
yeah.
I will go through the bye week teams. We've got 4 teams this week. It's the New York Jets, it's the Cleveland Browns, it's the Philadelphia Eagles, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For the Jets, Breece Hall will be missing for Charlie, and Garrett Wilson will be missing for Mike. In the Browns, for the Browns this week, Judkins, who was hurt anyway, is going to be missing for Scott, Fannin for Charlie, Njoku for Josh, and the team defense there also for Scott. The Browns defense has been pretty decent this year. Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts, that'll be Josh, missing him. Barkley for Tom, AJ Brown for Jake, Devontae Smith for Charlie, Dallas Goedert for Mike, and team defense for Tom. And the Buccaneers, even though they've lost some pieces, they still have some fantasy relevant people, including Baker Mayfield. That's going to be Mike. Chris Godwin, also Mike. Shad White for Sarah, Bucky Irving for Brian, and both the team defense and Ibuka for Alex.
Yeah.
So 4 teams on bye next week.
Okay, so our matchups, that's going to be the Union Bridge Badgers at 4-4 against the Timonium Neon Tubes at 5-3. The Owings Mills Ozempic 3-5 against the Berlin Banshees at 6-2. The Prince Street Po Boys at 3-5 against the Columbia Clown College at 4-4. Westminster Wrecking Crew at 3-5 against the Curtis Bay Chum Buckets at 5-3. Pasadena Pulverizers at 6-2 against the Reisterstown Rockets at 5-3. And then the Finksburg Kings 2-6 against the Penn Prairie Wolves, also at 2-6.
All right, very good. Well, that's a wrap for Week 8 recap in the Beltway Wars Invitational. Good luck in Week 9. And
happy Halloween!
In a couple days.
Bye.
Thank you for listening and your support. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify.